Saz. How are you, mate? You okay? You're good? Great, excellent. Mike, how are you?
Good, thanks.
John, really good to see you. Doing well, buddy?
Oh, thanks.
Excellent. Great. How are you? How are you? Those are probably the three words I've used the most and I've heard the most in the last 24 hours. Particularly yesterday. Every time we see each other, every time we greet each other, how are you? How are you? Yeah, I'm fine. I'm good. Actually, when you come to this community, you get, I'm brilliant, I'm fantastic, I'm wonderful. Are you? Shaz, are you really great? Mike, you really fine? You really okay, John? If you weren't, would you tell me? If you weren't, who would you tell? You see, I think there is a major problem in the way that we engage and we interact with each other. We've heard about it from 3 speakers already this morning. We lie. We lie to ourselves and we lie to other people. And that's a major issue. Now, we do that in our day-to-day lives. And we do it within this community. And I think that is a real shame. And I use the word community because the PSA and all of the associations within the Global Speakers Federation are an amazing, incredibly powerful community. But we fail to leverage that community enough. Some people look at this community, and I've heard it time and again, called a clique. You know, they look at speakers that know each other well, who get on with each other, who have a strong relationship, and they say, that's just a clique. That's not true. You look at the picture behind me. That's a few faces you'll recognise. Paul McGee's in there, who isn't with us because he's speaking in Australia at the moment. But it's 5 fellows of the PSA, 5 good friends. That's 4 people that I would count among my closest friends, not just in the PSA, but in the world. And another person was at that event as well, Stuart Harris, but he was far too ugly to include in the picture. But we were at the Scottish FA Cup final. And the reason that we went was because of someone who was mentioned last night, Kenny Harris, half man, half badger, Stuart's brother. And as Stuart said last night, Kenny passed away about a year or two, actually probably a little bit more, about 3 or 4 years before this match. And one of the things that Kenny was proudest of were the achievements of his son, Alex. Alex is a professional footballer. At the time, Kenny passed, he was probably, I think, if I remember rightly, on the verge of breaking into the Hibs first team. The next season, he went on to become pretty much Hibs star player, had an amazing season, and that season culminated in a Scottish FA Cup final appearance against Celtic. Now, Celtic was Kenny's team. So we ended up with Kenny's team against Kenny's boy, but Kenny couldn't be there. So we went. We went in Kenny's memory and to support his family. Now, that's not a clique. That's a community. You look at how Rob Brown responded to the response he's had from you since the news came out last week about the bleed on the brain. When he came up here last night and spoke very emotionally about how he felt. That's not a clique. That's a community. And that community is there for you. But too many of us fail to really, and we use this word, exploit that community enough. Last year I went to Thames Valley PSA and Steve Houghton Burnett was the speaker. And Steve handed around a survey. He asked us all to fill this survey in, and then he asked for shows of hands with the answers. And there were 2 interesting particular questions in that survey that caught my attention. One of them was, at what stage is your non-speaking business in its development? Brand new, young, mature and stable, growing, in decline. The other question that caught my attention was, what stage is your speaking business in its development? Brand new, young, mature and stable, growing, in decline. And Steve then asked everyone, he went through the questionnaire and he asked everyone to put their hand up for how they'd responded. And he said, brand new, hands went up. Young, hands went up. Mature and stable, hands went up. Growing, hands went up. In decline, no one put their hand up. On either question, no one put their hand up. I refuse to believe that no one's business in that room, in the middle of a recession, was in decline. There were liars in that room. I know there were liars in that room. I was lying. I'm grateful and I'm lucky that I can stand here now and say I've had a fantastic year. We're not out of the woods. I've got a pipeline that's bursting, but if it doesn't actually burst through, I'll be back where we were. And I came up with the idea for this presentation 2 or 3 years ago because I saw what was happening, and things like that event reinforced that for me. But I didn't want to come and do this until I'd been through the journey. And at that stage, I was towards the end, luckily, of the journey, but our business had been hell for 2 years. I'd lost some key core clients. I'd lost my confidence, so I hadn't gone out to replace them. And that was 2 years of hell, which ended up with us probably a week away from bankruptcy. Probably a week away, but I didn't say in that room, I'm lying. My business is in decline, because I wanted to look good. You know, Peter Roper said earlier about you can't run on empty. Well, the PSA is our petrol station. And when we go to regions, when we come to Mega, this is your chance to refuel. And if you've come here this weekend and you're running on empty, and people keep coming up to you and saying, how are you? And you go, I'm great, I'm fine, I'm brilliant. And then you go back to where you were. You're doing yourself a huge disservice. In May, Stephen Houghton Burnett wrote a blog, which many of you will have seen, called Broke, Not Broken. And in that blog, as he put it, he fessed up. He said, I'm broke, I have no money. And it was a very powerful, very moving blog that got a lot of engagement. In it, he said, I've been harbouring it for a while now, and it's been doing me a lot of harm psychologically. Keeping up the facade, which includes continually misleading our friends, is making me feel sick inside. How many of you have experienced that feeling? Peter Roper has, hasn't he? He shared how much that he felt and how free he felt when he released it. You know, Peter talked about when we were writing Death Came Third together and how we felt and the buzz. I had no idea at all what he was going through. Peter's the guy that brought me in to the PSA in 2003 through Jackie Barry's introduction. He became and remains a very close friend, and I'm very close to Peter and to his family. And I share his pride in what his kids have done because I've known them, particularly Sarah Beth, since they were kids. And he didn't tell me anything. What would I have given to have helped, to have been able to help? In the midst of the struggles in our business, I was in a private members club in London. And I looked up and Derry Llewellyn-Davis was there. Now, many of you know Derry. Unfortunately, he's not here this weekend. And I went over and said hello to Derry. And he said, how are you? I said, not too good, actually. I said, the business is struggling. We're having a really bad time about it. He said, Andy, I had no idea. How can I help? Now, I didn't know Derry that well. We've always got on when we've met, but we'd probably met only 2 or 3 times at that stage. But immediately, how can I help? You see, when we look around us and everyone looks like they're doing well, we feel no need to support. We see no imperative to go there to their aid. When you put on that mask that Peter Brandle just talked about, you might be looking good to people, but you're putting up a defensive wall for them helping you. Now, I dropped the mask and I said to Derry, I need help, and he was there. If you do not let your network know how they can help you, they can't help you. If you do not let your network know what support you need, they can't offer it. Why do we do this? Why do we behave like this? It's counterintuitive. It makes no sense, but we do it. We do it because we want to look good, because we want to wear that mask, because we want people to think we're doing great, because that's what's important, isn't it? We do it because we don't want to be a burden. You know, I don't want my troubles, passed on to everyone else. You've all gone through that thought process. Can I just ask you, just stick your hands up for me, if you have helped someone in your network recently and you know that it's worked out for them? Just put your hands up. Okay, just keep them up for a moment. How did it make you feel? It felt good. John, how did it make you feel? How did it make you feel?
Brilliant.
Brilliant? Shaz?
Great.
Can you keep your hand up if you felt like they were being a burden? Nigel. Just Nigel. Always just Nigel. So, let's reframe it. We feel great when we help people and we know it works out, particularly the people we love. I'm not suggesting you run onto campus now, approach a random student and say, I desperately need help. I'm talking about your trusted network. When we help people, we derive pleasure from it. When you don't ask for that help because you don't want to be a burden, you're preventing people getting pleasure. You're stopping them getting pleasure from you. So open up. And then we do it, we don't ask for help because we think we're alone. We think it's only us that have these problems, okay? I work across a range of sectors, and I run a mastermind exercise where I ask people to share their challenges, and my clients always say to me, our challenges are different from everyone else's. Bit of news for you, a lot of you know this. They're not. There are a small number of core challenges that everyone suffers. They just put a different label on it and they think it's only them that have it. And let's just see exactly how this works. On your table, you have got two cards. Well, there's a lot of cards, but they are in pairs. A red card and a green card. What I'd like you to do is, I'm going to share with you 3 scenarios. When you hear the scenario, if you are struggling with that at the moment, can you hold up a red card? If you have struggled with that and you've overcome it, you found the solution, can you hold up the green card for me? If you've struggled with it, overcome it, and now you've got it again, hold up both. I love the fact Steve Houghton-Burnett is holding up his card already. He hasn't heard the scenario yet. So, first one. You don't quite know what fee you can charge, or you don't have the confidence to raise the fees to the level everyone else tells you that you should do. So, red card if you face it, green if you've overcome it. I now feel like Ainsley Harriott on Ready Steady Cook. Okay, so have a look around the room. Who's alone? Around you, you have got people who share the same challenge and you've got people who have got the answers. You're not on your own. Okay, second scenario. You don't know how to get in front of the decision makers. You can't get in front of meeting planners, sales directors, CEOs, and get them to take you seriously. Red card if you're facing it, green card if you've overcome it. What about cash flow? If that's a problem for you. Red card if you faced it, green card if you've overcome it. Too many red. Lots of green, that is fantastic. But look around the room. The answers are here. You just have to approach them. You know, there's a lot of talk about mastermind groups. How many of you are in a mastermind group? Okay, excellent. How many of you have no idea what a mastermind group is? Okay, if you have no idea what a mastermind group is, come and see me afterwards. I will give you a tips book that will explain it all. But it's not just the right thing to just go into a mastermind group and that's it. You have to be in the right one. You need to surround yourselves with people that you trust, your co-pilots, as Peter Brandle talked about in his last presentation. You need to surround yourselves with people that you can be open and honest with. That there's no looking good in a mastermind group. It doesn't work. I have been in so many mastermind groups where people have come along and they've left their real challenges on the table behind. They haven't brought them to the group with them, and then when it's been too late, we found out they're going bankrupt or they're thinking of leaving the industry. When it's been too late to help, and that breaks my heart when that happens. But you need people as well that have got the right qualities. I was in a mastermind group that didn't spot my challenges. Because everyone there, though they came from the right motivation, to be honest, and it's no one in this room, like the sound of their own voice a bit too much. And so every time you started with a challenge, they would come in with a solution. They wouldn't take time to listen and reflect. You need that within a mastermind group. How many of you have got a mentor? How many of you mentor other people? If you've put your hand up for the latter but not the first, then get yourself a mentor as well. No one is that good, that they know all the answers. But get yourself a mentor. If you haven't got one, if you're an associate or a member of the PSA, fellows will mentor you. You just have to ask. And you have to take control of that relationship. You have to know what you want to achieve. And it doesn't have to be a formal relationship. I have informal mentors. People like Jeremy Nicholas, people like Alan Stevens, people like Paul McGee, people like Leslie Everett. None of them would probably have the time to be my formal mentor. but they'll all answer questions for me. They'll all be there when I need them, including, ideas for this talk. I ran them past them. So masterminding and mentoring is key. And if you do not have them, get them now, this weekend. Every second you waste, you're digging a deeper hole for yourself. Then what about your wider network? What about that network of people who you know, like, and trust? What about those people? Are you turning to those people enough? You need 3 key things to really make the most of that wider network to help give you the support you need. You need authenticity and integrity. You've got to speak from the heart. You need to know that they are a safe haven for you, that you're okay talking to them, and that you can be a safe haven for them. And you need to be strategic about it. You need to plan and think, not just leave this stuff to chance. Now, we have had a lot of acronyms this weekend already, and when I realised my acronym for that, I'll let you work it out, I thought maybe I'll just stick with that slide, particularly as I mostly use images in my slides. But authenticity, integrity, safe haven strategy, you need those things. Someone's just got it. When I spoke to Stephen Houghton Burnett and asked his permission to quote from his blog, Stephen said to me, it was about a week after he'd posted it, he said to me, I feel like I've been to my own funeral this week because of the responses that he'd had and the wonderful things that people had said about him. About a month before that, I was at a memorial service for someone who didn't get that opportunity to go to their own funeral. It was someone I knew from my networking, who was briefly a member of the PSA many years ago. And he'd died suddenly, no one knew how. And I couldn't go to his funeral, unfortunately. Apparently it was standing room only. I went to the memorial service and people flew from all over the world. And David talked about describing the funeral to his daughter Sydney yesterday and how everyone stands up and shares their memories of that person. And at that lunch, over half the room stood up and they shared their memories of our friend. And one by one, they all said the same thing. They said, he was always there for me. He was always interested in me. He always wanted to give, to support, to be there. And one person stood up and he said, you know what? I met with him a number of times and I still don't know what he did for a living because he was only ever interested in me. The next day, I found out how he'd died. He had hanged himself. He'd hanged himself because of money worries. His wife didn't even know the extent of it. There was so much love for that man in that room. Not only that, there was a huge amount of wealth in that room. And those people would have done anything to have had the opportunity to be there for him. Now, if you're sitting there and thinking, I'm all right, I can get through this, it's not just about you. It's about the people who care for you, the people that are hurt, the people that are affected, because you don't give them the chance to be there for you. You know, whatever you achieve in your career, whatever has got you to where you are now, it's determined by more than your expertise and your experience. It's determined by something bigger than you. And that something is around you right now. When you speak at Mega, even for the most experienced speakers, it's a very nerve-wracking experience. Because you're speaking in front of your peers. You're speaking in front of 200 people who are thinking, why the hell's he there and not me? So you want to look good. You want to look good. You want people to like you. And I'm no different. I have an ego. Many people will tell you that. But today, that's not important. Today, that's not what counts. If most of you ignore what I say, but one of you takes it, one of you takes action and asks for help, and that changes the course of your life, then my job is done. You see, you have to remember that community around you. Let humility take over. Ask for help. And if you do, then we'll all be okay. Thank you very much.